The Serpent Speaketh, audiobook, Part 5, an excerpt from the Old Gods. In the beginning, there was darkness. Then sun and moon were created. Sun made the stars and the planets, while moon nurtured them and enveloped the universe in a calming quietness. Once earth was created, sun made old gods to look after her life. They brought order and justice and knowledge to animal and plant and human. They brought light into the dark places and made music out of the cacophony. The old gods were the original tenders of the garden, the original kings and queens of air, land, and sea. Sun gave the old gods more and more power because he feared the chaos that seemed to follow them. If you do not strictly control, the Old Serpent Woman will come, and with her, chaos. But despite Sun's warnings, the old gods found themselves fighting a war they could not win, a war against the serpent herself. And no matter how many times she died, she always returned. May 24th, 2012. I knew that I was taking a chance by telling Frank the truth, but I was also getting quite scared of Cleo. And so I told Frank all about Cleo. I told him how we drank together, I told him how she harassed me, and I told him how I thought she might be the serpent in my dream. I was surprised because he listened really well throughout my entire explanation and didn't judge me for it. He did tell me that he wanted me to see the doctor again, and he wanted me to sign a paper saying I would agree to take whatever medication he prescribed. Since I was feeling a little desperate, I willingly signed what he gave me. When Cleo saw this, she yelled in my ear. I ignored her and followed Frank outside, where he set me to work chopping wood. As I did, I could sense Cleo watching me, and when I took a break, she told me that the garden needs tending. I ignored her and continued chopping wood. She tells me that I could palm my pills, flush them down the toilet, and as long as I present a kind face to Frank, he'll never know my true intentions. I tell her to leave me alone and I continue chopping wood. It's exhausting work, but as long as I keep busy, Cleo can't bother me. As I keep chopping, I'm aware that Frank is watching me. I try not to think about it and keep working. Cleo watches me and talks to herself. I take a break after another 10 minutes and tell her how I want to get back to being a graphic designer. She laughs and tells me I have to be shit on by the world in order to fit into the world, and that being a graphic designer is not in my cards. That's when I get back to chopping wood. Eventually, it gets dark and Frank has to come and drag me away from the wood. I tell him I didn't want to stop because Cleo wouldn't leave me alone. He nods that he understands and tells me to sit down and eat. A plate of mashed potatoes and rice sits before me. I eat it hungrily. Cleo keeps whispering in my ear and I silently pray to Jesus to rescue me. She laughs in my face and says that I'm a fool for looking to them for wisdom, and that I just need to live my life and take responsibility. Learn from God, but learn even more from the devil, she says. I sigh, but I don't tell Frank what she just said. I finish dinner and Frank takes my plate. I watch Cleo as she lights up a pipe and blows smoke into my face, then takes a swig from her flask. An excerpt from the Old Gods. The war between the old gods and the Old Serpent Woman raged for centuries without any end in sight. It ravaged the earth and left the old gods weak and dispirited. The Old Serpent Woman asked again for a truce, and this time the old gods accepted. She gave them a tea, saying it was a gesture of farewell. The old gods drank it happily, only realizing later on that it was a special tea with her herbs that she used for visions. And for the first time the old gods saw her as she was, and they saw earth as it was, and it was beautiful and wonderful, and yet they were terrified. June 2nd, 2012. Summer came to visit today. It was nice, I have to admit, but I was nervous because Frank was watching me the whole time and I was still recovering from drinking the night before with Cleo. But I don't want to talk about that because Every day is a new day, and I promise myself that I'm going to do good today, not drink. I've already taken my morning pills, and any paranoia and agitation has faded into the background. My mind is a mushy mess, but at least Cleo isn't there. After Summer left us with a rum pound cake, Frank tells me that he wants me to tag along with him. I tell him I'm really tired because of the pills, and he smiles and says, "Just do what you can." We get in the truck and Frank drives for a while. Frank tells me that I'm going to be cutting grass for him today. Tells me what he and Summer and Clyde decided. I groan. When we stop, Frank unloads the tractor from the back of the truck. He tells me to get on, and he shows me the forward and reverse and how to operate the zero turn. And then he sets me loose. The day seems like it will never end. My mind ambles this way and that, and I begin to stink of gas, grass, and sweat. But eventually it does end. Frank drives us back to the house, exhausted. He warms up some beans in the microwave and tells me to take a shower before I go to bed. I do what he says, mindlessly taking a shower and brushing my teeth. I'm feeling pretty sad and worthless, and I'm about to pass out when Frank knocks on my door. "Hey," he says, peering into my bedroom. "I just wanted to thank you for working hard today. You really are doing better, aren't you?" I smile. "I guess I am," I say, and I take my nighttime pill before passing out. Daryl's Dream Journal, Entry 6. I'm laying in the garden and a crowd approaches me. I realize that it's a funeral, and they are getting ready to bury me. The people lift me up, arguing over which way I should go. Some try to throw me in the ground, while some want to throw me into the sea. They argue and yell, all while the serpent watches and laughs. Eventually, the people stop arguing, saying I am not worth the effort, and carry me up a cliff, then throw me into the ocean below. I sink like a stone further and further down. It all turns black at first, but then I can see. My vision isn't like your normal everyday vision. Everything is brighter than I have ever seen before. The entire world pulsing with life and light. I reach the bottom of the sea, feeling all of the energy around me, but I can't move because I am still dead. "Help me," I ask the serpent, who is still there, still laughing. I desperately try to push off the bottom of the sea, but nothing happens. I just sit on the bottom, dead and motionless. "I want to be alive again," I plead. "Then you have to start fighting," the serpent says matter-of-factly. I struggle and urge myself to move, but nothing happens. "You silly fool," she says. "You have to fight with your soul, your inner heart, not just your body. Willing yourself to live won't make you alive. You have to really want it." I scoff at her and close my eyes, and then take a flying leap up to the ocean surface. I push off, and in the back of my nose I could smell the scent of blackberries in the garden in July. "I'm alive," I laugh. "I'm alive." But then I open my eyes and find that I haven't moved.